no contact with the opposite sex. If one is serious, as Prabhupada mentions in this one purport, if one is actually serious to make progress on the fast, one must detach himself from the association of women. And we discussed yesterday how difficult it is to, when we say physically detach myself, because of the arrangements that are made for the day-to-day basis in our association with activities or service. So we're in contact with that energy. But so we were talking yesterday how to be, what we say, in the physical proximity, but not into the material consciousness, while in that physical proximity. In other words, not to be drawn in by that energy and therefore become victimized. Of course, ultimately, purification of the heart allows one to detach themselves from mind more and more. But as we're making that progress, there are certain features that are required in terms of etiquette and activity in order not to become, what we say, victimized. As Prabhupada mentions, and we mentioned this yesterday, many stalwarts have fallen from the path because of these two great stumbling blocks, women and wealth. Somehow or other there's a connection between women and wealth. Because wealth indicates facilities for sense gratification, and women epitomizes sense gratification. So these two things, actually the attachment to wealth is very strong. In fact, it explains that those who are wealthy, that type of illusion, or the illusion of happiness that comes by having wealth, is greater than any other form of material illusion. And that's brought out in the 10th canto in the story of Nalakubera Manigriva. Just how illusioned they were by their position in the heavenly planets, so much so they flaunted even the association of Narada Muni, and kept enjoying in the association of some girls in a very licentious way in public. And being so overwhelmed by their wealth and their, of course, intoxication, completely neglected, or not even neglected, completely actually offended a great sage when he became president, and therefore they were cursed. So Prabhupada mentions that of all the attachments, wealth is, of all the forms of false pride that comes by way of material attachment to wealth is very strong, which gives facility for sense gratification, which comes in the form of the opposite sex. So, sometimes we use a joking statement in relationship to Lord Chaitanya's statement in the fourth canto, the fourth verse of Shikshastika, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundaram, Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye. I don't want wealth, I don't want women, I don't want followers, I don't even want liberation. So, not Dhanam, wealth, not Janam, followers, Sundaram, women, opposite sex. So in somewhat of a progression there. Wealth comes, and then followers, and then women. Like that. I don't want those three things. But when one falls down, what happens is that one, somehow or other takes association of wealth and women, and then what happens? Then you have followers and then they leave. So these three things, prestige that comes by following, wealth that comes from facilities that they're given, it's even in spiritual life. When one becomes what we say, what's the word? Proper word here. When one starts to make advancement in spiritual life, Krishna gives facilities in order to allow that person to continue to preach and expand the movement. And if one takes these facilities as indications of one's own personal achievements and uses them in the wrong way, then that causes fools. That's usually what happens. That's usually the case. Either the prestige that comes by success, the women that come by way of followers, and the wealth that also comes by way of facilities that are meant to be used for Krishna consciousness. That's actually the history, a little bit of our movement in America. Those of you who studied a little bit of the movement of Krishna consciousness in America, you'll find that in the early days there were so many austerities and very hard work and struggle and rapid expansion. Temples were coming, devotees were coming, and books were going out, and it was like a revolution. Even Prabhupada mentions that. Someone said that one very highly placed government minister in America said, if this movement continues, it will take over the government of the United States in 10 years. That's how powerful the movement was growing in America during the 70s, especially 74, 75, 76. It was expanding rapidly. But somehow, after that, the devotees got comfortable. Devotees got comfortable and started to use what was given by Krishna for expansion, and started to take it for their own selves. And then Krishna took it away. And Krishna took it away. That's the way he works. And not to allow that, he actually took it away. So there were so many, I would say, changes. Things just started to slow down. Devotees started to leave. Books started to go down. Everything was like a complete reversal. Because those were taking these opportunities simply for sense gratification. So I'm bringing out these points just to show that our movement is very much in contact with these things directly. Women, wealth, and followers. So these are the stumbling blocks, mostly the women and wealth. So one has to be aware of what one should avoid carefully. And of course, being aware means being cautious. And being cautious means to act in a proper Krishna conscious way. So we were discussing yesterday some of the etiquettes that one may adopt in relationship to the opposite sex. Such as respect for women in the form of referring to them as mother, as opposed to seeing them simply within the female body, and the enjoying spirit. The enjoying spirit was what captures the mind and brings the mind to the conditional level. So these are some of the things that we can maybe discuss. Prabhupada said we have to discuss this. If we don't discuss this, then we'll grow weak. Because we're so much struggling with these things. Struggling in the sense that the opportunity, Prabhupada said, spiritual life is like shaving with a razor. We're struggling. Sometimes you don't see that, but it's like shaving with a sharp razor. A little inattention. Maybe those of you who somehow have that experience, you're shaving, and then not only you may even be watching your shaving, but your mind is going on something else. As soon as you become even a little attentive mentally, you can slip and lose cut. Good example. Really good example. So spiritual life is like that, a little inattention. And one can, again, be victimized by material energy.